Good afternoon. So I don't want to make it a formal lecture per se. I just want to give you an overview of where as future engineers you could be useful. Okay, so that's what it is. It is not a very technical one. Okay, so don't think that the PowerPoint is full of lines and it's going to be sleeping using. Probably it will be, but still I'll try to make it as simple as possible. Okay, and then I'll just give you an overview of where as future engineers you could be helpful in health sector. Okay, and what are the requirements which are there. So I basically work in the Department of Physiotherapy. Okay, and what I do is something which is rehabilitation. Okay, so I will give you an overview of what it is exactly. Okay, and how really we require technological solutions. Fine? Yes. So I'll start with the lecture. Okay. So now I will basically ask you a question. How do you define health? Physical, mental and social well-being are not merely the absence of disease. That's what the definition which has been given by WHO. That is a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being. Now physical is very easy to understand. Okay? Physical is basically the systems which drive your body to exist as an organism is what we call the physical. Okay, now mental is also your cognitive or your mentation, which is an ability specific to humans. Okay, that has to be normal. Okay, which has to be within a set parameters. And the last one is social. Now, what do you mean by social well-being? Any idea what is social well-being? Is it socialization we are talking about? No, we are not talking socialization. Okay, see, basically, as a human being, we are expected to be a productive part of the society. Okay, whereby we contribute towards generation of resources, utilization of resources, okay, dissemination of resources, and various other social functions. So essentially, social well-being means be able to participate as an active participant within the society. That's what social well-being is. Okay, say I'll give you an example. You take for example amputation. Amputation is basically the removal of a limb. Okay. Now that basically shows the loss is physical. Okay. Now the person is not going to be able to work because of that. The issue becomes social. Okay, so two kinds of amputees can be there. A person who, irrespective of his, loss is working, who has a social well-being status, and the one who has not gone for a prosthetic fitting or any kind of an intervention and who cannot work, where his social life is affected. But you have to be socially useful, and then only there's a completion to life. Okay, so that's the reason they have included all the three aspects of health. Now, merely when a disease is treated or cured, it doesn't make anybody healthy. Okay, they should be able to be involved with the society, which basically is called as participation. Okay, the term used for involvement, useful involvement with the society, or being employed gainfully or able to gain knowledge by means of education exercise known as participation. Okay, so to put it into perspective, okay, what all could be the reason why health could be affected in a person? Okay, WHO has formulated a framework which is known as International Classification of Functioning and Disability. It's called ICF. Okay, so ICF basically classifies the reasons why there could be a health issue into three essential categories, there is body structure and function, body structure, body function, activity, and participatory restriction. Now, it is very, it doesn't make any sense when looking at it. Now, I basically want to say, so what you see is environmental factors and personal factors. Now, whether or not a person can participate after a health condition, it can be a disease or a trauma. For example, an accident or having a disease which can be quite crippling like a stroke or something. Okay, whether or not a person can actively participate in a social life after such an event has occurred in his life is not merely based upon his physical capacities. Okay, what essentially happens is that the environment as well as personal factors play a role. Now, environment, I'll give you a simple example. See, you all have grandparents, isn't it? Now, how many of them do you think will be able to access the public transportation services which are available here? All your grandparents will be able to climb onto a bus? No. Why are they not able to do that? They have, obviously they have weakness which is associated with aging. Okay. But don't you think the bus step is a little higher for an old person to climb? That is what exactly by environment means. Okay, there's a physical environment, okay, which essentially prevents a person from functioning normally. For example, if you are coming into this building, if you are a wheelchair bound person, can you enter this building or not? Probably you could, because you won't have ramps. Do you have ramps here? Ramp is basically a slope instead of a step. Do you have it here? No. Do you have ramps in the campus? No. So yes, you have. Okay, so in places where there are no ramps, how are you going to access a building? So basically it is not the person's willingness to move or person's ability to move that is causing the barrier there, but it is caused by the environment being built in such a way that we only decide for people who are normal. We do not consider people who could be lesser normal than us. Okay, so most of the things are like that. Okay, buildings, public spaces, parks. Okay, anything you look at. Okay, there is a barrier which is built because of our thoughtless designing and planning, etc. Okay, so that is what is the first factor. The second factor is personal factor. Your grandfather might be able to climb onto a bus. Okay, your grandfather might also be able to even if the step is a few inches higher, he might be able to climb onto a bus. But just because he's your grandfather, he's old, you are not sending him out of house. Why? Because you are scared something might happen. Okay, it's not the right country for old men. Okay, so what happens? They basically again have no social participation. That is what the second factor is, basically personal factor. Okay, now for a person to be considered healthy, okay, all these areas, that is body structure and function, activity and participation, all the three areas have to be normalized. Okay, that is what this guideline says. Okay, for a person to be considered normal, okay, or to be healthy, all the areas have to be addressed, and that needs to be corrected so that he can function normally as a person in a society. Okay, so going further, see, this is what I was telling you. These are the 9 essential factors which makes you a complete human being as outlined by WHO. Okay, so that is learning and applying knowledge. That means you should be able to move around. You should be able to acquire knowledge by means, which could be whichever means, approaching somewhere, okay, or doing it online, or whichever way you should be able to learn and apply knowledge. General tasks and demands, which includes your own self-care, okay, your own hygiene, etc. Okay, your household chores which are there. Okay, all those are general tasks and demands. Communication, you should be able to verbally and non-verbally communicate with other people around you, so that you can share ideas, you can create new ideas, etc. Next is mobility. That means you should be able to move around. Okay, move around within your personal space as well as in public spaces. Self-care, like I was telling you, is grooming, toileting, etc. You should be able to take care of by yourself. Your domestic life, where cooking, organizing things around yourself as well as in your home. Okay, and interpersonal interactions. That is, you should be able to make friends, talk to them, or make meaningful relationship with people around you. Okay, and next is major life areas like education and employment, where you should be able to move out of one place, okay, go to some other place and be able to work. Okay, and last is community social life, able to attend marriages, birth of a child, or whatever functions are there. That is community social and civil life. Okay, so unless and until you are able to complete all these things, you are said to be having a participation restriction. Okay, so complete restoration of health happens only when you make a person capable of performing these activities to certain extent. Okay, or completely restore these activity and participation domain within the person. Okay, so we will see how that happens. So this is basically an overview of how a person becomes disabled because of a medical ailment. Okay, the first one is a pathology. A pathology is nothing but the presence of a disease within the body, or the body being affected by a disease. To give you an example, having a stroke, is a pathological malfunction. Stroke is nothing but a part of your brain stops working mostly because of lack of blood supply. Okay, so basically that tissue causes loss of function. Mostly you will see one side of the body is paralyzed, isn't it? Because that's the pathology. Now, the impairment as a result of that is, like I told you, the loss of muscle function on one side of your body is the impairment. The muscles are not functioning, impairment. Okay, and as a result, if there is a person who has had a stroke has lost the control of the right side of his body, okay, not being able to feed himself, not being able to dress himself, okay, not able to go out and work. That is what loss of an activity or participation domain is. Now, it is not merely the impairment which is leading to this. Here, contextual factors which we saw before, that is environmental as well as personal factors also leads to a person not being able to function optimally within the society. Got it? So, how do we if you want to restore health or if you want a healthy society, okay, how do we go about it? Okay, how do we how do we promote health as a system? Okay, so healthcare itself has been divided into three separate levels actually. Okay, the first level is known as preventive, where the diseases which can be prevented needs to be prevented. Okay, an example of preventive healthcare would be vaccination. We are giving polio vaccines, isn't it? Every year there's a pulse polio program or the measles vaccine program where people are immunized in the anticipation of a disease happening or to negate the chance of a disease happening. That is preventive. Now it is not merely this. Preventive healthcare can also involve non-immunization programs like education, like you being educated about the need for exercise or the need to cut down sugars in your diet. Okay, preventing diabetes, preventing hypertension. Okay, screening for genetic disorders. All are part of preventive healthcare. Okay, where you are trying to prevent a disease from occurring. The next one is basically known as curative. Curative is when a disease has already occurred. Take for example, you basically wear mask. Okay, there's a season of we will take dengue for example. Dengue is very prevalent in Bangalore. There have been 482 cases of dengue in this particular season. Okay. Now, how do you prevent yourself? What is the prevention program for dengue? What do you do? You don't get bitten by mosquito. Okay, you wear Odomos. Okay, or you wear any other kind of personal protection, or from a public sector level, you fog the areas. You don't let water being stagnating there. Okay, annihilation programs. All those are the preventive measures. When that doesn't work, what happens actually? The next level comes in. You got dengue. What happens? You have already got the disease. Okay. Now what should be the role of healthcare? It should be to minimize the effect of that disease. It should not lead to primary complications. That is because primarily of the disease itself, or secondary complications, which can happen because you have been not moving around, not being bedded, etc. for a long period of time. Okay, so that is what curative medicine or curative intervention is all about, where you have you are limiting the spread of the disease, or you are limiting the extent to which a disease can damage your systems. Okay, now when both this is the thing is that there can be three possibilities of a disease. Okay, if you have a disease, there are three possibilities it could lead to. What are the three possibilities? Any idea? There are only three outcomes that any disease can have. What are the three outcomes? Any disease you take, there are only three outcomes which any disease can have. Can you just Yeah, just be loud enough. What are the three outcomes? Yeah, either you can get completely cured, death, you can die off. Okay, now what was the third possibility? Absolutely. There's something called as infirmity or morbidity. Okay, so the first stage is complete recovery, that is cure. The second stage is known as mortality, that is death. Okay, and one which comes in between is known as morbidity. Okay, the perfect example would be the previously said stroke. Okay, the stroke is just one event of loss of blood supply to one area of the brain. It is not that for the lifelong the person is paralyzed, there is something happening in his brain. No. Okay, that gets over with a single episode of a shortage of blood to certain area of the brain. Okay, that is over there. That has already occurred. Okay. Now, the loss of muscle strength or the loss of motor control on one side of the body, okay, that which remains throughout the life of a person is called as morbidity. It's known as morbidity. So the disease has left some residual effects on the person. Okay, then it is known as a morbidity. Okay. Now the third scenario is very easy to understand. It is death. Okay, so, essentially there is death, like there is complete cure or morbidity. Now, the basic idea of healthcare is to minimize the morbidity, and that is what rehabilitative part of healthcare comes in. Okay, that's where rehabilitative part of healthcare comes in. That means you have to minimize the residual effects that a disease can have on a person's life. Okay, so that is where rehabilitation comes in. Okay, so we will see how is it possible. So the last two levels, that is curative and rehabilitative, we will see how it works. Okay, what are the ways in which we can provide that particular aspect of healthcare. Okay. So there are three separate ways in which health or the morbidity can be minimized within a person. Okay, within a person. The first one is basically known as remedial. That means you have an issue. Okay, you have an issue. Take for example the same stroke patient who doesn't have control of one side of the body. Okay. Now remedial intervention would basically mean you try to restore those functions which have been lost. Okay, you try to restore those functions which have been lost. Okay, now one of the primary functions which will be lost is basically like the ability to regulate muscle tone. Okay, muscle tone is whatever tension is there in a muscle group when it is at rest. Okay, that is known as muscle tone. Okay, so you would have seen people with stroke having this kind of a posture. Have you seen people with stroke? Okay, this is basically because of the basic synergic muscle tone which develops because brain has absolutely no control. Okay, so the control which brain exerts over the limbs is kind of a detective control. Okay, a detective control where it chisels out unwanted movements and keeps only what is needed. That control is loose. So what happens? The limbs move into the natural synergistic position. Okay, so if we can remedy that to restore the tone, the normal tone, or the restore the normal voluntary control would be an example of a remedial intervention where you're trying to remedy whatever has been lost. Okay, so what we basically do is that we can use physical agents or pharmacological agents, okay, which can essentially lead to restoration of these functions. Okay, restoration of this function, but it is not always complete. Okay, so a person does not recover his lost functions. So then what is the best? What do we do then? Okay, for example, a child with polio. A child with polio has lost muscles of the leg. You have seen people with polio. Have you seen people with polio? Okay, so I'll just give you, I'll just see how you can solve a problem now. Okay, so there's a child with polio who has lost muscle control. So when the muscle control is lost, we are able to keep our legs like this. We are able to keep our legs like this just because our muscles are able to work against gravity. For example, when I'm keeping like this, my hip muscles which flex my hip, okay, my ankle muscles which are pulling my ankle into this position, etc. are working, okay, so that the limb remains bent up in the air. Now when I lose muscles there, what is going to happen? It is just going to fall down, and it will basically go to the most lengthened position which is possible. That is this is going to go down, this is going to be remain there, okay, and this is going to fall down. This is the posture I am going to get. Now the problem with this is that if I have to walk, for example, I am going to walk here. See what is happening? My neck is hitting on the threshold. Okay, so when I am going to walk with a drag. Okay, this is what is going to happen. Can you think of a solution for this? I will never be able to cure or get the muscle strength back. Okay, with none of the interventions, neither pharmacological, that is biochemical agents, or by means of physical interventions, I am never going to be able to get the muscle strength back. But I don't want this child to drag and walk, which usually they do, isn't it? What do we do then? Remove the limb only. Absolutely. See, what you do is that you tend to support, imagine you are giving a support to it. Okay, for example, imagine this kind of a support. Okay, this kind of a support you are giving to something. Essentially, this is nothing but an external frame, like you said. It's an external, orthotic device which places the limbs in such a way that the ankle doesn't fall beyond 90 degrees. It is going to remain there. What you have done? You are shortened the limb to a functional length. Okay, a functional length is a length which you can clear easily when you are walking. It's called as a functional length. Okay, so because of polio, what had happened? The length had increased to a limit that it is no more functional. The person was keeping on, hitting on the floor. So what you did, you basically have reduced it to a functional length by supporting it from outside. So what you have done now, essentially, what have you done? The whole process is what actually is basically something called as compensation. You have compensated the loss of muscle functions by means of an external device, okay, which substitutes the muscle functions in such a way that the person regains an optimal length of the limb. Got it? So such an intervention is called as a compensatory intervention, where you try to substitute lost functions by means of technological solutions. So you can see your potential here, isn't it? You have to engineer the right kind of things, okay, to be able to assist. This is known as an assistive technology, okay, where you are trying to compensate for a lost function. Okay, so this is what compensation is. The next one. So what happens when both fail? Okay, imagine. Okay, a person who has had a spinal cord injury. You know what spinal cord is, right? Okay, so spinal cord is basically the circuitry from where the information to your limbs, okay, and your trunk for that matter, goes from the brain. Okay, so an injury is basically at some level you are cut off, and a person has both sides lower limb paralysis. Lower limb paralysis, leg paralysis is there. Okay, it's completely paralyzed. What function he has lost? He cannot walk. He cannot walk anymore. He has lost the mobility function. What is the way to compensate for it? What is the way to compensate for it? You give a wheelchair, isn't it? Wheelchair is an example of a compensation. For a person who is not able to be mobile by themselves, wheelchair is a type of a compensation. Now, does it ensure that the person basically be able to function normally after getting a wheelchair? No. So with active interventions like whatever remedial intervention was there, whatever compensatory intervention was there, you are still not able to get the person to an optimal level of functioning, isn't it? What do you do then? What would you do then? See, every society has certain properties which are attributed to its environment, isn't it? Okay, which are naturally occurring. Okay, for example, Mangalore is full of hills and valleys. Okay, small because this is at the foothills of the Western Ghats. Okay, Mangalore is not a low area. It is full of hills and valleys. Okay, the type of constructions which you undertake, which are architectural, isn't it? Naturally occurring physical environment is there. Architectural physical environment is there. All those things are part of environment. Now, if you try to change the properties of the environment, will the person be able to function better? For example, like I was telling you before, instead of stairs, you keep ramps everywhere. Will they be able to access all the buildings? Yeah. Most of the buildings. If we have ramps, all buildings are ramped, all buildings can be accessed, isn't it? Okay. Now, if you have to see the way they are going to interact with the environment, then it is known as environmental modification. Okay. So when there is a loss of a lack of recovery or restoration of health, either by remedial or by means of compensatory management, okay, then you have to think of the third element, which is known as environmental modifications. Okay, so we will see in general, okay, a brief time of where this technology plays role in all these things. Okay, so where it could basically apply your knowledge, okay, as engineers to help, the healthcare sector. Now, you would have identified by this time some roles which you could play, isn't it? Do you think, where all do you think you can play a role? From just an overview, from here, we are seeing three possible mechanisms, okay, by which, okay, a person's health can be restored. That is, remedying the disease which is there, that's the first way. The second one is to compensate for a loss, isn't it? And the third one is basically to modify the environment. Where do you see yourself having a role? Compensatory, isn't it? Okay. Only compensatory. Environmental modifications, isn't it? Okay, because we already talked about barriers which are architectural, which are natural, isn't it? So obviously, deciding of environment itself is there. What about remedial? Do you have a role? Do you think you have a role in remedial? Yes or no? Absolutely it is there, isn't it? For example, a remedial intervention could be, for example, a skill intervention, isn't it? Okay. Now you have advanced beyond the era of surgery where your whole body had to be opened up. Okay, to a time when you basically make two small ports on your abdomen, for example, and you can pull out a big enough organ through it. Okay, which is known as laparoscopic surgery or a keyhole surgery, put it in a common parlance. Now, how did this development come? Did doctors develop it? Were these advancements developed by doctors? No, it was not. Okay, it has come up as technological solutions. Okay, we are mere practitioners of whatever technology is catered to us. Okay, it is just that we use what comes before us. We put forward needs. Okay, why we need keyhole surgery when you can very well open up and see what is very clearly there, and then we can operate very conveniently and stitch back everything together, because an invasive surgery, maximally invasive surgery like an open laparotomy, where you open up your abdomen, is known as an open laparotomy, would basically subject the patient to unwarranted discomfort. Okay, you have a large incision to heal. Okay, you have a longer period of time when you are out in the hospital. Okay, there are so many factors to consider from the person's point of view. A minimally invasive surgery, usually you would have seen advertisement of hospitals and all. Okay, you will be discharged within 8 hours after the surgery. Okay, so some things which would take multiple weeks for recovery, the recovery time can be shortened. Okay, so that is the need which, as a health care system, we will be putting forward to an engineer. Okay, so that is a need. We want to minimize the pain which is associated with surgery, as well as we want to shorten the length of stay in hospital. Okay, so how do you design a surgical procedure which basically minimizes these two? Okay, the question is that. So what is the solution to it? Okay, how do you? So what do the engineers do? So how you can access the internal organs with the minimal opening within the body? That's the first and foremost solution. Now, if you are putting the minimal opening, how do you see what is inside it? How do you see what is inside it? And the third thing is that if you see also, how do you ensure that what is inside can be operated upon, isn't it? So they come up with 3 different solutions of basically making a port good enough to pass a videographic device called as an endoscope, and associated surgical instruments which can be passed through another port and operated upon. So you basically are looking through 2 ports. So you are looking through one port and you are operating through another. Okay, whereby minimizing the invasiveness of surgery. Okay, it basically becomes a lesser invasive procedure. So that is also a part of remedy, isn't it? We are operating is an example of a remedial intervention. So at all levels of healthcare, there is a requirement that you think of newer, more innovative solutions. Okay, or based upon the requirement which is put forward, you think of engineering solutions which can be applied, and it has always been happening. Okay, and not merely in terms of intervention also. Okay, the first and foremost step in any kind of an intervention is detection of a problem, isn't it? Okay, detection of a problem is basically the tool towards a diagnosis. How do you detect a problem? Okay, take for example magnetic resonance imaging or MRI. Okay, CT, etc. has come from come based upon the need to know about something more clearly. Okay, so from ultrasonic scanning, we have reached a state where we are using magnetic resonance imaging or MRIs. So that has been a technological solution for a problem that you do not get much idea about what is there inside the body by looking at the ultrasound image. And you would require basically a person who knows to read those images to tell you what exactly you are looking at. See, have you ever seen an ultrasound image? Have you ever undergone an ultrasound, any of you? A diagnostic ultrasound? Yes. Does it make any sense to you? Do you see, have you ever looked at those images and felt that these are the exact same things I saw in my biology textbook? No. Okay, even I wouldn't feel that way, because it doesn't look anything like that. Okay, it's a grayscale image, okay, which basically has regions of hypoechoic and hyperechoic. That means, the sound is echoing more or the sound is echoing less. That's it. And based upon that, small changes in the the echoing characteristics, you have to detect what is there, which basically is a 3-year medical course after like an MBBS, which is called as radiology. Okay, so they learn that. Okay, so essentially you require another person to interpret what is there inside. So you want to minimize that. What do? You think of, is there any way you can photograph the inside of your body? No, you cannot reflect light from there. Okay, because light is not going to penetrate something which is opaque. Okay, so what could penetrate? So you discover X-rays. Okay, and already X-rays were there before ultrasound scanning itself. Okay, so could you use X-rays in such a way that you could take a picture of what is inside, and that is the birth of CT. Okay, computerized tomography, where you are passing X-rays, reflecting through the organs, and you are getting an image of those filmed onto a photographic plate. That is what a CT essentially is. Now, the problem with CT is, again, it only has one characteristic which defines whether or not what image you get. That is the reflectivity of whatever you are sending the X-ray. For example, bones would reflect everything through. Okay, so they will appear very white in a CT. Okay, something like your lungs and all do not reflect anything. They let everything pass through. All the X-rays are let to go through. So what happens? It becomes very dark in the CT. Okay, so you only have that kind of a solution, which again is not really useful to diagnose all kinds of hospitals. So that came up. That basically led to the invention of MRI. Okay, whereby the resonance, or basically the electron spin which happens within the structures, okay, is recorded, okay, to get an image, and it is interpreted and an image is got. It involves a lot of computation. It involves a lot of technological advancement in the way in which you are able to detect those signals which are there, and it involves fairly high degree of involvement of multiple levels of engineering. Okay, so the basic need was to look and see what is there and interpret it easily. So detection or assessment or evaluation itself has a role to has a lot of contribution from engineering side which could happen. Okay, so you could be looking at newer solutions. Now, how do you look at organs? For example, what do you think the next level of imaging would be? Imaging in the sense without opening up the body, you want to see what is inside. What do you think the next level of imaging would be? As engineers, what do you expect, or what do you want it to be? Being able to get an image of an organ the way it is, isn't it? The same color, the same 3D image, isn't it? Okay, or you should be able to see a 3-dimensional image of what is happening inside. Okay, who is going to do it? Obviously, it's not the work of doctors to do that. Nobody is going to do that from medical fraternity. So that is the need. Okay, to make it more easier. Okay, basically it minimizes the error which you could make in judgment. Okay, so you are looking at a grayscale image. You are just recognizing the patterns. Okay, it's a pattern recognition. Okay, you miss that recognition, you may treat a cancer thinking it is just a hemorrhoids. Okay, so what is going to happen? Hemorrhoids is piles actually. Okay, colon cancer, if you just miss a certain degree, by certain degree it will be treated as a hemorrhoid and the person could suffer, isn't it? Okay, that has to be minimized. That's the reason you need better imaging. Okay, so such solutions need to come from the detection. Okay, and remedying has a lot of contribution from technology side. Okay, so you are going to innovate and look at better imaging for the future doctors who are going to be there, isn't it? Okay, so it basically involves a lot of engineering disciplines to be playing a role. Okay, see, for example, when you are talking about MRI or CT, okay, you are talking about nuclear radiations, isn't it? Okay, radiation, fields which deal with radiation, fields which deal with computation. The MRI doesn't reflect back a true image like a photograph. It doesn't do that. Okay. Basically, whatever signals are detected has to be interpreted by use of a software. Okay. So there will be software solutions which are going to image it in the way we need it, isn't it? Okay. And obviously the design of the device itself. Okay, where electronics, electricals, mechanical, etc. would be playing a role to design it out. So multiple disciplines of engineering, okay, needs to play a role to come up with a single technological solution. Okay, so all solutions cannot be arrived at by just a single discipline. It is not possible. Since our problems are more complex, the solutions are also even more complex. Okay, so there is always a scope of multiple disciplines, including healthcare, coming together to envision these things happening in future and coming up with solutions. Do we have such technologies now? No, we don't have. At present, we don't have. There has been experimental designs going on in California Institute of Technology, okay, and MIT, where they want to image an organ system the way it is actually inside the body. The technology is prohibitively costly, so one of the factors would be to make it less costly, less expensive, okay, so that it is accessible to everybody. Okay, see, there is, in 1964, Seiko made the first quartz watch. Okay, the first quartz watch. You know how a quartz watch works, right? The quartz watch basically works, by a vibrating quartz crystal, isn't it? It's a piezoelectric crystal. Okay, and it is rectified in such a way that finally you get it is 2 to the power of 15. It is the vibration frequency is 2 to the power of 15. So after the 15th step you get a 1 hertz vibration. Okay, so the quartz crystal starts with 2 to the power of 15 vibrations, and by the end of it you get you basically rectify each wave in such a way that each waveform in such a way that ultimately after 15 steps you get a vibration which is equivalent to 1 second. Okay, so it was a technology which was adopted by Seiko. Seiko is the first company to have made a quartz watch. At that time, a quartz watch was more expensive than a sports car. Okay, a quartz watch, the first quartz watch was called as Seiko Astron. Okay, which was more expensive than a sports car would be. So then subsequently within 1980s, the wristwatches which use quartz technology became so cheap that they started threatening the intricately made mechanical watches from Switzerland. Okay, so and that led to a downfall of the Swiss watch making industry. Okay, what do you think would have been the reason for that? Cheaper manufacturing. The first and foremost thing is cheaper manufacturing. Now, for less than 10 rupees, you could get a quartz mechanism in a Chinese watch. Okay, so 40 rupees you get a watch. Okay, maybe that is 4 times costlier than what the actual cost of making it. Okay, so the technology has become so cheap because there has been innovations in the way it can be engineered and manufactured. Got it? Okay, so that is applicable to every field which is there, even in these fields. So that one of the factors which you will be looking for when you are trying to design systems would be to minimize the cost of those technologies when it is applicable. See, in a country like ours, okay, where there is maybe less than 1% of the population who can actually bear the cost of healthcare, especially chemotherapy and other health issues which are extremely prohibitively costly. Okay, one of the factors which will lead people to access healthcare rather than shuttling between Ayurveda, homeopathic, Unani and various systems of medicine and actually see modern medicine would be the cost effectiveness. You make it less costly, you make it more accessible to everyone. Okay, you make it accessible to public hospitals like PLCs, district hospitals, etc. More and more people will be deriving the benefit of it. So cost effectiveness is one factor which you would always be likely to work upon. How to develop cheaper materials? If there are materials, how to fabricate them in a cheaper way? How do you machine and tool things in such a way that you can go for a cheaper designing process? All those things would essentially will lower the cost in such a way that more and more people can access it. So I have given an example of here. Okay, so scope, benefits, cost and future we'll discuss here. See, this is basically what are the immediate projects you can take upon? Okay, so I have given a few examples of some systems which we use in rehabilitation, okay, which could basically be looked upon and improved upon. So I think those were seen like Discovery Channel or National Geographic. Okay, there has been a program on martial arts, 7 lethal arts. Have you seen? No, it's not seen. Okay. So what this is exactly is called as a motion capture system, where you use 6 cameras minimum. Okay, and what you do is you put sensors on the person's body segments. Okay, and then you also place something called as electromyographic signal detectors on the muscles. Okay, and then what you do is when the person is moving, okay, with the reflectors which are there on the signals, you will be able to, on the sensors, you will be able to interpret the fine intricacies of the movement which is taking place. Okay, fine intricacies of the movement which is taking place. Essentially, you are making them wear sensors, and all the other systems are like cameras which are around. Okay, these are all cameras which are there around. Okay, and what it essentially does is that it gives you a 3-dimensional analysis of the movement which is taking place. Now, see, the thing is that when we are talking about mobility, for example, okay, see, we are seeing that mobility is one of the basic functions which needs to be restored for a person to be considered to be socially relevant, isn't it? Among the 9 elements which we saw, mobility is one. Now, the unfortunate thing or the fortunate thing is that we move in a 3-dimensional environment, okay, and it is extremely difficult for analyzing a person head-on or sideways because you are not getting the complete picture. Okay, you are not analyzing what happens at each region at the same moment. Okay, you will not be able to tell that by mere observation. Okay, what do you need? You need such a system to record it from all the areas, and you should be able to analyze it, and then you will be able to detect what exactly is happening to the mobility that you need to intervene upon. Okay, so this system at present is extremely expensive. It will basically require. See, we have one such system in our exercise and sports sciences department in Manipal, okay, which costs approximately 6 crores for a very basic system. Okay, so again, at a clinical level, it is not applicable. Okay, it is not applicable, or it is not possible to install such a system in clinics. And even if it is possible to install, it will be limited to very few hospitals, which obviously is going to recover the cost of it by charging the patients. Essentially, it may not lead. See, the most likely people to get disabled or mobility issues are the one from the lowest socio-economic strata. If you look at it, okay, you see that beggars are there, isn't it? Okay, people whom you are actually seeing as disabled, wheelchair bound, okay, or who are using crutches, who walk with no devices but with bent legs and all. How many of them do you see from high socio-economic classes? Very few. Maybe Stephen Hawking you can remember. Other than that, you just think of people who are like that. Very few actually. Okay. The most of the people who are afflicted by this is the ones from the lower socio-economic strata. Basically, because they do not have the money to go through a remedial or a compensatory intervention, isn't it? Okay. Now you are deciding for people, and the ones who need it are not able to access it. Okay. Not able to access it. How do you basically justify your invention or your development to be socially relevant? It doesn't make any sense at all, isn't it? Okay, you are developing something for the betterment of people, but maximum number of people who are requiring it are cut out from it. It really doesn't make any sense to develop it, isn't it? Okay, so how do you further innovate from it? How do you further innovate from it in such a way that you can reduce the cost of such system? Okay, so this is one area where research has been going on. Okay, there is a concurrent research which is going on where you would, instead of the expensive, those are phantom 4V cameras which cost you. Phantom 4V is a slow high frame rate capture camera system which can capture up to 20,000 frames per second. Okay, so that you can slow it down to such levels with high resolution that you will be able to see almost like a still photograph what is happening within a joint segment at any given point of time. Okay, so instead of that, how could you replicate it with something like your cell phone cameras? Already there are solutions for it. Okay, there are 3 available apps. Okay, this is an app which basically it is an app which is developed for studying your golf swing for the people who play golf. Okay, now handicap is basically the number of shots you cannot take in golf. Okay, if you are playing golf, the kind of things which you cannot do in golf is called as the handicap. So as you become a pro, your handicap is reduced basically. Okay, so that is what happens. Now, this is one tool which analyzes your growth stream next. There is an app called as Huddle. Okay, a cheap technology which is known as your cell phones, which are the weakest of them is actually more powerful than the computer which is on board the Apollo 11 program which sent man to moon, isn't it? Okay, the Apollo 11 program has sent man to moon. Okay, it's more powerful than that. Okay, the cheapest of the phones are more powerful than that. How do you use those technologies to basically come up with like solutions like what we saw before? Okay, how can you make like readily accessible technology useful in the same way like a highly expensive technologies? Well, that is one way to look at a solution. You don't need it actually redesign a standard 4D camera. Need it. Okay, most of the phones basically is able to record in like 1080p resolutions at 60 frames per second or 726 frames per second and all. Okay, which essentially gives you a slow motion video. Okay, which is good enough to analyze motion on a general basis in a clinical setting and all. Okay, so how do you utilize that? Do that. Okay, it's basically something which you need to look forward. So you already available technologies. How do you make them more useful? By finding out more uses about them. Okay, you have something which is so powerful, which can do imaging, which has got accelerometers in it, which has got gyroscope in it. That's the reason you screen tunes when you're touching your phone, isn't it? Okay, you have devices already embedded in it. Okay, many different kinds of technologies are embedded in your cell phones. How do you utilize these kind of innovations which are there with you for furthering the need or furthering the solutions for something and making it more accessible? Okay, that is an example. So in detection and tools, nowadays there is something called telemedicine. Okay, where so you have the Apple Watch 4 which had come out last year. Okay, it had two specific functions which was hitherto unknown in the sense which was not there. Do you remember what it was actually? Do you know what Apple Watch 4? There were two innovative functions which were new to Apple Watch, which have not been adopted by any other tech company, and which really makes a lot of sense. One is, Apple Watch is the first wearable watch which can detect your ECG. It is one thing to detect your heart rate, but it is another to detect the electrical activity of your heart. That is what ECG is. Basically, ECG is detecting the contraction and relaxation of your heart. Okay, the electrical impulses which are created as a result of that. So Apple Watch 4 is the first one which came up with ECG detection. And there is something else also which incorporated. That is something called as fall detection. Now, as you grow older, one of the things which increases is not just your wisdom, it is your likelihood to fall. Okay, you are more likely to fall in your, from your 6th decade of life. Okay, that is because the systems which maintain your balance are lost. Okay, and fall leads to one of the most common conditions which you see in older people. You would have seen your grandparents or some of your grandparents would have had a hip replacement. Okay, because the moment you fall, it is not the impact, but rather your leg bending which causes a fracture. Bones are already deep. Okay, so falls lead to fall and fall related complications are one of the most renowned killers of people who are old. Finally, they might be dying because of a heart attack or a cardiac arrest. But the precursor to all that would be a fall which has triggered a set of response to the body, which led to their death. Okay, so mortality in elderly increases because of fall. Okay, so there should be tools to alert somebody that there is an increased fall risk. Isn't it? There's an increased fall risk in somebody, so that you can basically take measures to prevent falls. Okay, one is by just taking environment well lit, make it clutter free, take lawn slip. Okay, all those are environmental modifications which can help the person. Just moving this chair away could potentially make somebody walk much easier. Got it? So but there has to be a way in which fall risk is detected. And Apple Watch 4 has an accelerometer which basically senses if a person is falling. Okay, so one of the basic signs of person likely to fall is when you stumble. Okay, more the number of stumbles, there is a greater likelihood of fall. Now these stumbles, okay, which basically unwanted movements which happens when you are trying to get up or when you are trying to sit, is an indicator that you are going to fall sometime in the future. Okay, detects that and sends it by itself without the intervention of the wearer to a healthcare practitioner. Similarly, it sends the ECG data without the intervention of the wearer to a healthcare practitioner, most probably a family physician. So what it essentially does is that a change in ECG which is being detected by, which is alerted, see it is sent as an SMS or an alert to a healthcare practitioner. You are having a cardiac arrest, okay, and somebody is within a few seconds coming to know that, and also to your rating. I just put the picture of it. See this actually. So it is basically being informed to people who really are your caretakers as well as your healthcare practitioners. What is going to happen? Essentially, the chance of you dying there with a cardiac arrest is minimized. Okay, so this has been operated in Apple Watch 4, and the Samsung Galaxy Watch is coming out this year has again incorporated this. So again, see, these are simple solutions which basically makes the help at hand more easier, isn't it? Okay. See, most of the time what happens? Okay, parents would have fallen in house. Okay, people are somewhere else. Okay, they do not know what has happened. By the time help arrives, they would have bled to death. Okay, they could have they could have been easily managed if they had been taken to hospital. For example, you fall and hit your head. There's a small bleed. By the time help comes out, what happens? The bleed has become a large enough bleed to make you traumatic brain injury patient. Okay, so the faster the help arrives, the better it is. So that again, that's an example of a technological solution to a problem which is very common in a certain age group. Okay, so evaluation and assessment. Your cell phone could be a powerful tool through which, or your wearable devices could be a powerful tool through which evaluations, assessments, detection, etc. could be done, and it is reported to a healthcare practitioner or to a person who means something, in the sense a caretaker or somebody, your children, your parents, or whatever. Okay, so that is an area of research which needs to be undertaken, and which would basically make it more accessible, because cell phone is there with everybody. Okay, you don't need to buy an Apple Watch. How about a simple 10,000 rupees Xiaomi phone? Could it do the same thing? This is a question you could ask, isn't it? See, everybody cannot afford an Apple Watch. Okay, what about a simple phone, an Oppo phone, or a Xiaomi phone, or even an Indian made like a carbon phone? Why don't you make the technology more accessible, so that everybody would have a device in their hand, okay, which at least detects calls, if not ECG. ECG obviously needs you to have a wearable device which is worn on your body. Okay, so that is the way the technological innovation has to move to make it more cheaper, make it more accessible. So the next is restorative interventions or remedial interventions. What is your role? See, for example, we have moved on from we are synthesizing biological tissues. Here are xenografts. Xenografts are like human organs or human-like organs which are grown in other animals. Okay, what do we do? How do we grow human-like organs in other animals? Is it possible to do that? Yes, it is possible to do that, because what determines how our organs look like, function like, etc.? What? Our basic genes, isn't it? Okay, it is genetic coding which determines how human organs are, how they function, etc. Now, the same set of genes could be there in a pig, for example. The genetic code for making a pig heart would be there inside a pig. If you just, by some means, if you pull out that genetic code and put a human's genetic code, what kind of a heart would be developing in a pig? A human heart would be developing in a pig. Obviously, there are a lot of ethical issues associated with it. Okay, is it ethical to kill a pig to get a heart? Okay, so it's obviously an ethical issue. But still, that is what is going on. Okay, we have reached a stage where you can genetically engineer the kind of organs you want in lesser organisms. Okay, it is good. Okay, so you can modify the properties of their organs in such a way that you can harvest from them. That's known as organ harvesting. Okay, which obviously organ harvesting is associated with transplantation and all. You are harvesting organ from a person who has died in an accident, for example. But organ harvesting from genetically modified organism is where our restorative management is there. So you have a heart which is malfunctional, you replace with a heart which probably has your genetic code, which has been put into a pig and farmed. Okay, so that level of technology is. These are this is where it began from. Okay, this is where it all began from. That's where I put. This is known as an osteomotor prosthesis. What does it look like actually? No, it's not the knee. It's the hip joint. Okay, it's the ball and socket joint, which is the hip joint. So this is the ball part of the ball and socket joint, which you call as the hip joint. Okay, so this is made up of steel. It is a metal. It's not made up of steel as you know it. Okay, obviously it has to last inside your body for a longer period of time. Okay, so it's made of an alloy which is less reactive, it's very inert, it is not going to form chemical compounds, and it is hypoallergenic. It should not be rejected by the body. Okay, so this is placed. What they do is orthopedicians cut out the upper end of this bone, which is known as femur. Okay, and insert it inside it. Okay, so this is where it began with, and now we have reached a stage where we are able to grow the organs in some place and get it and use it actually. Okay, now again the next level of innovations would be to make it more long lasting. A prosthesis at this point of time, this is known as an indwelling prosthesis. At this point of time, it would last, the life which is given is 20 years. Okay, usually you would be needing a prosthetic fitting like this from your 70 years onwards. So 20 years not an issue, because most probably in the 90s most of the people will die. Okay, so doesn't become an issue that my prosthesis doesn't last for 40 years, because by that time you have 120 years. Okay, so doesn't really matter. But still you want these things to last, because these are applications not just in older people. Okay, and athletes for example. Okay, there are populations which require these features. Okay, so make them more long lasting, make them more lighter, okay, make them more enduring. Okay, all those things are innovations which are required. But we have moved beyond this to a stage where we can design and develop specific kind of tissues. Have you heard of an invention called as artificial muscle? No, an artificial muscle, a muscular tissue is very much a biological tissue. Okay, a muscle basically gets a coded impulse from your brain, based on which it shortens or lengthens at a certain graded tension. That means the tension and the rate at which muscle works is graded. Okay, now this is an artificial muscle actually. Okay, this is an artificial muscle. Now where it could be used? There are conditions, there are progressive non-curable conditions called as muscular dystrophies. Have you heard of it? Muscular dystrophy. Okay, so muscular dystrophy is a condition where it's a genetic disorder where, because of an error in your genetic code, one specific protein which keeps muscles intact is lost, is not there. Okay, so usually it affects children. Okay, Duchenne's muscular dystrophy affects children. There are dystrophies which can start at later ages also, where essentially you are losing your muscle, but all the other systems which control your muscles, like your nervous system, okay, are still intact, but it is only your muscles which are being lost. Essentially, you cannot produce any torque to move your body against gravity, or to compensate for the reaction forces which are falling on your body. Okay, so what happens? You design a muscle, okay, which is artificially built, which can be controlled your own brain impulses, okay, and which can make you move according to your volition or will. Okay, so this is an example of an artificial muscle which is there. So the next level of thinking is to make synthetic materials which will not be rejected by the body, which can last for a longer period of time, okay, and which is cheaper to be installed in as a solution for, because DMD as of now we do not know how to edit genes in such a way that certain diseases can be eliminated. There are two tools, one is known as CRISPR, the other one is not even named. Okay, which basically we don't know if you edit a gene whether it will cure a disease or it will cause a cancer. Okay, that's the main problem. So usually what you do is that you send a virus takes your genetic, it sends its genetic material to your genetic mechanism and basically replaces it and reproduces. So you send an artificial virus, the virus will inject its material into your cells, and then the cells start synthesizing whatever the virus has sent into your cell. So most likely it is that you get a cancer rather than a cure. So nobody is using it much. Okay, we haven't reached that stage. But this is the next solution. You synthesize it using materials which are available, which don't synthesize within the body, which can be synthesized outside and put. Okay, so this is again an area of research where it involves material sciences, it involves signaling sciences. Okay, where how to code and interpret information which is coming from your brain, for example. Okay, and it involves mechanical engineering. Okay, and obviously electrical and electronics. It's a multidisciplinary approach again. Okay, where people disciplines come together to innovate and research and design. The last is innovation, interventions which are rehabilitative. Now this is very fairly simple picture which is there. All the wheelchairs, okay, crutches, all the other kinds of devices which a person would have to be given for compensating, okay, needs to be innovated too. Okay, again with the aim of making it cheaper, more accessible, more customizable. One of the main problems is that, see, even if you make the entire environment like friendly for disabled, okay, most of the people are not going to be able to use these things. Okay, one of the common problems which we face is we give orthosis. Orthosis is the device which that woman was wearing. You remember, this is an orthosis. Okay, now this orthosis will cost somewhere around 40 lakh rupees now. Okay, 40 lakh would be the price of the orthosis which she is wearing. Now we are seeing people wearing steel kind of orthosis, isn't it? Okay. Now, see, the most simplest, all the steel orthosis which is available, or aluminum orthosis, okay, made in India is made by a company which is known as Alimco. Okay, Alimco makes cheap components which can be assembled by a prosthetics and an orthotics engineer in their workshop and make an orthosis. Now, one of the basic problems which we face is that the maintenance for an Alimco orthosis is very high. Every 3 days, you are wearing it on the leg, that leg will be twisted. The person will be walking like this for the first 2 days, third day it will be there. Because the material is not accounted for the innumerable number of torques and forces that fall on the device. Okay, there will be rotational forces, there will be translatory forces which fall on the device, which happens in normal human motion. It is said that you cannot reproduce the same movement twice in your lifetime, because the degrees of freedom are so infinite that you will not be able to reproduce the same movement, same trajectory in a lifetime. So every time an orthosis is experiencing a different kind of force, what happens actually, if it is not designed to take that, it is going to malfunction, and that is exactly what happens. Okay, so there needs to be solutions, okay, where the materials are so dynamic that they are like see, our bones etc. are thixotropic in nature, in the sense they do not behave in the same way. The mechanical characteristics change in the way a force is applied, whether a faster force is applied or a slow force is applied, from which direction a force is applied. The bone crystal shows a different property. Okay, so they need to be designed in such a way that they replicate the human skeletal system's properties. Okay, you need to have materials which are designed, or you need to have geometrical arrangement of materials designed in such a way that it replicates or it reproduces the kind of resilience which is provided by our own skeletal system. Okay, and we need to make it lighter, cheaper again. Okay, so these are the solutions which you would look for for wearable technologies for orthotic devices. Have you ever come across this on your Facebook page or something? You're not come. Okay. So everyone remember the name of a South African runner. He was called as the Blade Runner. He is the first amputee to have run not a Paralympic but a real Olympic race. Okay, he used to wear two crosses which looks like a sickle. I don't have his photo. You have seen that? He has been later. He was arrested for his own girlfriend. He shot in. He's a South African. Okay, he was involved in a murderous allegation. He was arrested and he is now behind bars for being involved in that crime. Okay, but he used to use a prosthesis. He was an amputee. Above his knee there was. His legs was cut above knee. Okay, bilateral amputee. Both sides he had this prosthesis which was made up of pure carbon fiber. Now, initially there was a debate regarding whether this person should be allowed to run in a normal race or not, because other athletes deemed it to be advantageous to him that he doesn't have legs, and this curved carbon fiber, it can store energy and release it when you are basically bouncing off. Every step you are storing it and you are releasing it, thereby helping you to leap further. But then it was deemed correctly that no artificial device can reproduce what a natural leg can do. Okay, so always his name is Pretorius, Oscar Pretorius. Okay, so he was always at a disadvantage. Okay, now the thing is that this is basically a replica of that device, but what do you think it is made up of? What do you think it is made up of? It is from cane. This is not cane, sorry, unfortunately. Cane is what actually, the one with which you make furniture and all. Cane furniture you have seen? Yeah? Okay? So this is made up of that. But it has properties which are similar to that curved blade of carbon fiber. And this innovation was done by a company which is a startup in Bangalore. Okay, we started with this development of cane-based prosthetic fittings. Okay, so till now we had like metal-based prosthetic fittings. Now cane-based prosthetic fittings has two advantages. It is light, okay, it is highly elastic, in the sense by means of being able to store energy and release it. Okay, and it is much cheaper than fabricating a steel or an aluminum based or an alloy based prosthetic device, and replacement cost is also less, and it is obviously much accessible by anybody who has an amputation. Okay, you need to pay only a fraction of the price you would pay for a really well designed, well developed orthosis or prosthesis which is available now. So these are again the kind of innovations which are looked forward, and there is only one startup in the entire country which has thought about such an innovation. Okay, that is this startup which is there in Bangalore. Okay, now you need to look around you. You need to identify things. You need to identify things could be used in purposes like this. See, the solutions are all around you, like a Picasso painting. It's an abstract form. You just need to put together the pieces and get what is the whole thing. Okay, so again, you have a great role to play as future engineers in developing the rehabilitation devices, assistive devices, the kinds of devices which can be used to help people out with their tasks, etc. Designing systems, okay, designing the environment. Okay, see, one of the basic things which basically negates the chances of environmental modifications happening here is because of the prohibitive cost. Okay, because you can have only a 5-degree grade for a ramp. Only a 5-degree grade for a ramp actually. That means only 5-degree angulation is permitted for a ramp. So instead of stairs, if you go take a ramp to reach first floor with only 5-degree gradation, how much do you think will be the cement and other building materials required? A lot more than what you will be building stairs with. Is it cost effective? No. Okay, so you cannot blame anybody, okay, for that matter. Okay, there has to be a way in which you can reduce the cost of building. Okay, there has to be a way in which you can minimize the space around which it is built. Obviously, if you want to go first floor, if you have to take a ramp from 50 meters, who has the compound to do that? Nobody, isn't it? Okay, so there has to be ways by which you reimagine spaces, you reimagine materials, okay, and you reimagine solutions in such a way that it becomes useful for the purpose of giving everybody an equal opportunity to function. Okay, so the motto of WHO by all this is something called as equalization of opportunity. Irrespective of your physical ailments, everybody must have equal opportunity to try out your own luck, to prosper, to pursue happiness and to survive. Okay, that is essentially what is expected of healthcare. Okay, and any kind of technological solutions which is associated with healthcare. Okay, so I will come to an end of it. That's it actually. Thank you very much for patiently listening to